a diamond by scratching on the surface. You'll never find a pearl if you wait out on the shore. That's the way it is when you're looking for the answers. Wisdom lies deep, wisdom lies in the search. Look a little deeper, go a little further, search a little harder. Don't you know you've got to grow? You know you've got to grow. You know you've got to grow. You've got to grow.
Hi there, what a joy to come into your living rooms today. We have for you another adventure with Daniel on Word Probe today. It's all about faith and the fiery furnace. Have you ever wished you had the guts and grit to stand up and be counted? Well, it does take courage of your convictions to withstand the pressure. Daniel chapter 3 gives us an exciting story of 3 young men in a foreign land who got the awesome ability to stand for their conscience even at the threat of their own life. What happened next? Did the furnace take over their faith? Well, let's find out as Nirmala Abraham talks to Felix Joy.
You've got to grow.
Welcome back, Felix. I'm so glad that we are going to do chapter 3 of Daniel's book today. In chapter 1, if you remember, we saw how God is sovereign over the strategies of people.
Correct.
And that God honors those who honor Him and stand by His principles. Then again in chapter 2, we saw that purposes of God unfolding on planet Earth, and that praying believers are a great asset to the society.
Absolutely.
Now we are going to look at chapter 3.
In chapter 3, you find that Nebuchadnezzar the king is setting up a golden image for himself. And what do you think? He has done something like that?
Yes, that's a good doubt. He seemed to have had a change of mind in chapter 2.
Correct.
But then again he is back with a statue. Let's read. Can you read verses 1 to 6 please?
Sure. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold. Height was around 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. What is cubits? I mean, how much is that?
6 cubits would be 9 feet and 60 cubits would be 90 feet.
Okay, that's pretty big. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which the king had set up. So the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates and all the officials of the province gathered together for the dedication of the image that the king had set up. And they stood before the image that the king had set up, and then a herald cried out, "To you it is commanded, O people, nations and language, that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre and the pipes, in symphony with all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the gold image that the king had set up. And whosoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace."
Nebuchadnezzar was a despot and he was an egocentric ruler who wanted to rule the whole world.
Correct.
So he soon forgot what he said about Daniel's God in chapter 2.
Correct.
But now, after having that dream of the statue, probably he wanted to make a statue for himself, and this time the statue is gold from head to toe.
Absolutely. But in the vision that God gave him, it was only the head. So that means there was supposed to be another kingdom after him, but he wanted everything to be his.
Yes. He wanted to be the ruler of the world. So he made this statue 90 feet high and 9 feet wide.
Okay. And is there a significance for the height and the length? Because it looks pretty odd if you build a 90 odd statue.
I know it's not proportionate.
Correct.
Many people think that probably there was a very high pedestal or a
Okay.
base
Platform.
for it, and that height also may be included in the height of
In
the
the
statue.
height.
That's
Okay.
why it looks odd.
His inner man has not changed. If you
Yes.
look at it,
Right.
the king heard the voice of God. He saw the dream. Daniel didn't get the dream. The king got the dream. That
Yes.
means God was trying to communicate something to the king.
Right.
Now you see that externally he's thinking, but internally his inner man is not changed.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that? I mean,
Yes. He was believing about Daniel's God,
Okay.
but he didn't believe in Daniel's God.
okay, there's a
Yes.
faith about God and there's a faith in
Yes.
God.
See, many people know about God and they
Okay.
believe that yes, that person is there, but they don't believe in that person.
Correct,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
So this is the problem in today's world. Do we believe in the living God? So he set up this statue in the plains of Dura, and the plains of Dura is a very natural arena. He
okay.
didn't have to build an arena for this. It's set between two mountains, and the scholars write that this plain is about 6 miles south of Babylon,
Babylon, correct.
and it's visible for miles. So anybody who is standing up there when everybody else is bowing down can be very easily observed.
Okay.
So this was a very good place the government officials chose, and everyone had to pledge allegiance to the king. The spiritual darkness of this world, it chooses to expose people who do not conform to its ways.
Okay.
Even if they want to be unnoticed, they are picked out. For example, two people want to live in together without marriage. Now, if you stand up against those things which are against biblical principles, they'll just call you old-fashioned, rigid, non-conformists, and they give better sounding names for whatever they are doing. For example, you misappropriate funds when actually you are a thief.
Absolutely.
But in God's eyes, it's
You're
still
still a
a
thief.
sin. You are
Correct.
still a thief. See? So this is what the darkness of this world does.
And they find better ways to sin, like they just had an affair, and it is actually compromising. And I think I can relate it to the plain of Dura, as you mentioned in the previous verses, that anybody who is not bowing down can easily be spotted.
Yes.
So believers should not lose heart when they are sidelined
Yes.
by the world, or by the worldly system. But God
Absolutely.
has a reward for you, for your hard work and for
Right.
your efforts. And I also want to connect it with Nebuchadnezzar's reign.
Yes.
I believe that during his time, he reached the peak of success. His military presence was the strongest. He was the greatest king of that time, and now he wanted to take it to the next level. The
Yes.
physical realm was achieved.
Yes.
He wanted to take it to the spiritual world, and he wanted allegiance with the entire.
He thought he was a god.
Absolutely, and he wanted to be worshipped.
Yes.
And I think we see that in the life of Hitler. I mean, he used excellent management techniques, but in a negative,
He was almost like a god.
almost like a god to that.
Even Alexander the Great, for that matter.
Absolutely.
He conquered most of the known world, but then he thought he was God.
Absolutely.
This is a kind of a temptation that successful people can fall into.
Fall
A
into.
trap even today in the 21st century. You conquer so many things, your dreams are realized, and then you think that you are almost God.
Anybody who doesn't bow can be easily be spotted. And they
Right.
say this plane was even used for building up bricks and
Yes.
mortars,
That's
and,
right.
and you have the gates being built, because the Babylonian kingdom was all about the construction.
Yes.
And the palaces, the beautiful,
Right.
magnificent palaces.
So they had many of these huge furnaces. Probably bricks were being baked in those furnaces.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And this was the plane that they set up the image so that they could gather together and worship together.
Right. So let's look at this chapter now in detail.
How would you divide this chapter? I mean, how are you planning to
Yes,
break
we
it up?
could divide this chapter again into 3 parts. The
Okay.
3 P's this time.
Mhm.
The pressure to conform, the power of conviction, and the presence of Christ.
Okay, that's interesting.
So first we look at the first point, and that is pressure to conform. Now you see the command is given when the orchestra strikes up and the horn and the flute and the pipes and all these other instruments are played, all the people must bow down to this statue, and
Absolutely.
anyone who does not bow down is going to be thrown into the fiery furnace.
How does this relate to something in the New Testament? I mean, have you done any research on that?
Yeah, actually, if you look at Revelations 13, it's the Antichrist and his statue is set up over there. Could you read Revelations 13,
okay.
verse 15, please?
He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as who would not worship the image of the beast to be killed.
Now the same options were given to the people in Revelations.
Absolutely.
See, either you bow down to this statue and live,
Mhm.
or refuse to bow down and die.
Mhm.
It's the same thing. The world is going to see the same options on the last day, and it's going to be much more severe.
I see in verse 12, the satraps and the administrators coming and complaining to the king that Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego is not bowing down. I wonder, where is Daniel? Because he was also part of the team.
That's a good question. If you look at chapter 2,
Mhm.
it ends by saying that the king made Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego administrators over the province of Babylon, while Daniel remained in the king's court.
Okay.
Probably at this time, Daniel still remained in the king's court, which may not be near the plains of Dura. Even if he was there,
Mhm.
I'm sure he would never have bowed down to this statue,
statue, correct.
because he would take a stand, even though they could have found 100 excuses to rationalize this away and say it's okay. Some people say, yes, I am bowing down on the outside, but I will not bow down on the inside. I'm standing up on the inside. Or they would say, yes, nobody is going to know about it, back home. So what? I have to save my life. If I die, I cannot witness for God, so let me just do it.
Just do it, okay.
He could
Everybody
have-
is doing it, so why not me?
Their reply is an amazing reply. They told the king that there would be no bargaining, and they are not going to negotiate about this thing. They are not going to beg for their life. They are not going to strike a deal. They were prepared to die right then and there if necessary, and they were just going to stand up for their God.
No, but God would have even forgiven them if they had bowed down and then gone back and repented. But
Yes.
I think it's not about God's forgiveness in these matters. It's
Yes.
about your conviction, your commitment to the Lord.
Right.
So here the Lord would have anyway forgiven, but since they took a stand for Him,
Yes.
the Lord also took a stand for them.
Right. So it's not about testing God to see whether God is going to forgive you or
Forgive.
not.
Okay.
It's about how committed are you,
Absolutely.
and what is your level of commitment. See, now that the astrologers had come and complained to the king had to take action or face humiliation, because the law was that if he said something, he had to follow through. He couldn't go back on his own word. So let's see what happened. Let's read from verses 13 to 18. Furious with rage, Nebuchadnezzar summoned Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. So these men were brought before the king, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold I have set up? Now, when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipes and all kinds of music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace, and then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand?" Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego replied to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to save us from it, and he will rescue us from your hand, O king. But even if he does not, we want you to know, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." Wow.
That is faith.
That is faith. That is the stand that these people have taken. Now, this furnace was not just some small cooking oven in the kitchen. It was like a huge industrial furnace which smells metals, or maybe for baking bricks, like you said earlier. Now, verse 22 says that the flames leaping from the top killed the soldiers who took them there. So that can tell you how hot it was, what the temperatures were. And they really had to have the courage of their conviction so that they could stand up to the king. Even in today's world, the temptations are many. We have the same situations. It may not come from a king, but by the click of a mouse, you can go to a website full of fantasy, pornography and immorality, or maybe to use swear words just because everybody else is using them.
Absolutely. So the world has its own furnaces these days. So
of course.
the money we spend, the kind of things we buy, or even the friends we
The
have,
temptations are the same.
it's the same. Okay, all the kinds of evil that is spreading. It's more.
much easier to take some money from the ATM or the e-transfers.
Absolutely.
And the world has its own fiery furnaces, that of ridicule, being called names and so on. if you stand for what is right, if you stand for biblical principles, the world is not going to tolerate that. You'll be thrown into the fiery furnace of ridicule. And it requires a lot of strength and character to resist all this in the 21st century. You are in the world, but you are not of the world.
Of the world, absolutely.
So, this is a chapter that you may have read many times in your life. But today, the Lord is reminding us of the kind of people that He
We
wants
have
us
to
to be.
Absolutely.
So, to come back to the story again, the king sends for these three young men and he says, is it true what I heard? Is it true that you are not willing to bow down to my statue? Maybe you didn't understand me properly. So, I'll give you one more chance. The orchestra is going to play again, and then if you bow down, well and good. If not, I'm going to just throw you into the fiery furnace. The option they faced right now was not just any death. It was being burnt while the world watched.
Absolutely.
Right?
So Satan uses fear, that means,
Yes.
right? To gain control, especially the fear of
Exactly.
death.
So
I
looking
think,
at that, naturally they would have been scared. Even today, people are scared. If I don't give bribe, maybe I'll lose my job.
absolutely.
Or if I don't tell lies, maybe they'll put me in prison and I'll be killed in place of the real culprit. So this kind of fear comes in, and Satan has people in his control. So here, these people, the decision they had to take had to be taken in a hurry. There was no time given to them. Okay, the king didn't say, okay, you go home, take 1 day to decide and then come back. No way.
It's a quick
They-
decision.
Yes, they had to decide then and there. What it shows me is that they already knew in their heart what their decision was going to be.
Absolutely.
They knew that there was no way they were going to bow down to that statue. So this is the lesson God is teaching us. We have to know in our hearts what we are going to do. We have to think these kind of things through even before you come to such situations. And the crux of the matter is in verse 18, where they say, but if not, those three words are important. We know that our God will deliver us, but if not, still, O king, we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold that you have set up.
Absolutely.
See, the king had them in the grip of his hands, but they said, O king, there's nothing that's going to force us to bow down in front of this. And no wonder these people are mentioned in Hebrews chapter 11, the chapter of faith.
Faith,
This
absolutely.
is faith.
I remember the words of Jesus when you're saying this. He said, he who believes in me, even if he dies, he will live.
Right.
Can we use these three words while we pray? But if not, like some people would like to have a job. Give me that job, Lord, they say. Give me the funds. Or this is the girl I want to marry. But if not, I will still trust you.
These three young men, they were prepared to take no for an answer from God. Yes, God answers when we pray, but it need not be yes all the time. It can be no sometimes, or wait. But here, they knew that if they had to be saved from the fiery furnace, it would take a miracle of God. As Spurgeon once said, our duty is to do what is right and leave the consequences to God. So these people, they trusted God, just like Abraham trusted God when God told him to sacrifice Isaac. Abraham knew that even if he had to kill Isaac, God would raise him up, because he had a promise earlier from God that through this son of yours, I am going to bless the whole world and your descendants are going to be blessed. So we can trust God. We don't have to look at the consequences, just do what is right.
And God will not go back on His word. So His
Yes.
promise is always yes and amen in Christ. There are two opposing forces. The
Here,
one
that's
side
right.
you have three young men who have been, they are slaves now. Actually,
Yes.
they are in a
Just-
kingdom
just
more
Jewish
powerful
captives.
than captives they are. And you have a powerful Babylonian emperor whose God might be 3/4 of the world in his hands.
Yes.
And you see the forces, and one force
So
is overtaking
unequal, so unequal.
so unequal. Yet God is using the weak to show His power.
Yes. In fact, this has happened many times in the Bible. Let's look at some examples now.
Okay.
You've got to grow. You've got to grow.
let's move on. Could you read from verse 19 onwards?
Then the king was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than its usual heated temperature. And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in the army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the fiery furnace. Then king was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the king, True, O king. Look, he answered, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the form of the 4th one is like the Son of God. That's interesting.
Yes. King Nebuchadnezzar recognizes the supernatural being in the furnace. He knew it was not just a human being. This is known as theophany, or an appearance of Jesus in the Old Testament, a pre-incarnate appearance of Jesus in the Old Testament. He was really the Son of God.
How are you so sure?
Oh, I'm sure, because Isaiah chapter 43 verse 2 says, When you walk through the fire, you will not be burnt, because I am with you. And then he goes on to say, Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Many times he says, when you walk through the water, you will not be drowned.
How does this apply to us in today's age?
Oh, yes. Some of our viewers have gone through fire. They've gone through the fiery furnace. The fire of affliction and trials and rivers of sorrow. Maybe they have not yet seen deliverance, but they have experienced the presence of Jesus in those trials. And that is so precious, because that shows that he is true to his promise.
And had they not gone to the furnace, I think they would have missed the opportunity of walking with the Son of God.
Yes, that's a good point. See, they experienced the presence of Jesus because they went through the fiery furnace. He appeared to them in that fiery furnace. So because of the fiery furnace, the whole kingdom got to see the power of our God. So sometimes God uses fiery furnace for his own children, so that the whole world can see what a wonderful God he is. And the amazing thing is, this miracle earned a title for these people. If you read verse 26, Nebuchadnezzar then approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out. See? Now they are addressed as servants of the Most High God. This was something nobody could refute, because this whole drama took place in front of their very eyes. Such a huge gathering there. Everybody saw this. They were in the center of the fire. Nobody could claim that this was a drama enacted or this was trickery, because the heat of the fire killed the very soldiers who took them to the fire. So this was for real. Nebuchadnezzar saw it along with his nobility and all the ministers and all the satraps and all the people over there. So this was a day when God demonstrated
his
that
power.
he is the sovereign God.
And that's only because they stood in obedience to God's will.
How we represent God to the world is the only way the world sees God.
God, absolutely.
If we don't represent God's power to the world, how can the world see it? Paul calls us ambassadors for Christ. And let's look at verse 28 to 30. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him and defied the king's command and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. And then the king promoted them in the province of Babylon. So now it's no longer the 3 young boys testifying for God, it is the king Nebuchadnezzar himself testifying to the glory of God. Because these 3 young men dared to be different and to stand up and be counted. How many of us can dare to stand for the right and for biblical principles in the 21st century?
Absolutely. We like to serve God when it's very convenient and it's a
Yes.
comfortable ministry and there is no struggle involved.
Yes.
There is no battle involved. You know, you would love to serve the Lord in a convenient environment, not when the actual heat of the battle
Right.
comes. Looking at the whole scenario, I feel we should be able to be a better practitioner, might be walk the talk, than just talk the talk.
That's true. To walk the walk in this world. Jesus said, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven." Felix, thank you so much for being with us today. We've enjoyed this talk that we had. I hope to see you again.
It was nice talking about the book of Daniel, and I'm sure we will have much more revelations coming out
Of
of
course,
this
we are going to
research.
do that. So, dear friends, the mighty King Nebuchadnezzar got to see the power of God because 3 young Jewish slaves had the guts, strength, and conviction to stand for God. So, stand for Jesus, who said, "I'll never leave you nor forsake you." King David said, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." So may God bless you as you walk the walk and stand for Jesus. God bless you.
You've got to grow.
What a remarkable story of faith and unshakable trust in the living God. So next time you feel like taking the easy way out, remember Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. And when you do, write to us at write2probe@gmail.com. We'd like to hear how you like this new season of Probe. So stand for what is right and trust in Jesus. He will be with you always. Hang on to that promise and be ready for chapter 4 next week. Until then, keep believing.
You've got to grow.
And this week's thriller is titled Humbled at the Hanging Gardens.
And the hanging gardens, they are also mine.
One dream and he's sweating.
His eyes were welling up with tears of fear. Did you hear that, Daniel? This is not about a tree now. Pleading with Daniel, there's a long, poignant pause and a silence.
Absolutely shocked and gone white in the face.
This is not a fairy tale or legend.